Here. Hello, and welcome again to another edition of For Those Who Believe. And today we have our beautiful friend, daughter of the Casa, and my gorgeous sister, Patricia Bell, all the way over there in Lilydale, the US of A. And this is so wonderful because we're bringing the whole Casa family back together again from all over the world. And this podcast is all about really bringing us together in the consciousness that we have learned through the Casa. And of course, we all came to different um, modalities here in Abidjan. We came from all over the world, and the Casa changed my life, certainly, and probably yours. But I am grateful to the Joao Teixeira de Faria, Medium Joao, for bringing us all together, because only for him saying yes to his mission, we wouldn't be talking today. So I want to ask you, Tricia, and just kick the ball off there by telling me, how did you get to Abidjan and how did it change you?
Well, thank you for inviting me. To me, this is a blessing, and it's great to be with you, Kanya.
Yeah.
How did I get there? Well, as you well know, I'm an astrologer,
Mhm.
and I was part of an organization called the International Society of Astrological Research. And I met the vice president of ESAR Brazil, who
Mhm.
was Susie Verdi.
Wow.
Yes. And so Susie and I got to know each other, and she turned around to me and she said, "Come to Brazil with me." Now, I had not been, I've been to Brazil before and had spent time there. So I was more than willing to go with her. I got to the casa. I had immediately an operation.
Wow.
I went back to my room in San Rafael and I had my soup and I lied in that bed for 9 days, only to get up and go to the loo and come back to the bed. During that time, I lied in that bed. I saw the nurses, I saw the doctors, and I saw the entities that were there for me. It was
9 days.
as 9 days,
Oh
until
my.
you're supposed to have your go back in front of the entity. So, and Dr. Oswald Cruz was there. And I kept saying to myself, who is this man with this mustache? You know? And then I find out who it was. And I said to him during this, I'm going to call it the brilliant out of the body meditative experience,
Mhm.
why am I seeing all of you? And he said to me, it was because you need to know that we're really here and that we're really working on you.
Interesting.
Now, it was an overwhelming experience. I have been a spiritualist minister for a number of years, but while I was there, I saw so many miracles with other people that Susie brought in. All right, which was great, but I was in my own miracle state. So I wind up going back to the US, and then I hear that uh, there was going to be a meeting in Atlanta, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
entities was going to be in Atlanta. And so, having
Right.
lived in Florida, I said, well, I'm going. And they asked all of us who were ministers who had been at the Casa to come and be in a section to meditate and do these things. And we had our
Right.
special prayer group. It was just so sweet. And we talked up on stage and told them how meaningful it was to be able to connect. And, to this day, I'm not sure everything that the entity and them did on me during those 9 days. I do
Wow.
believe they removed a lot of hardships from my spirit that would give me strength for the future. So here I
Exactly.
am in Atlanta, still processing things, still processing. And then it was the end of this service in Atlanta. And each one of us walked up to
Mm.
the entity. And the entity looked at me and said, "We are waiting for you back in Brazil." And I'm going, okay. And
Yeah.
so that started my journey to go back to Abba, Adabajanya. And it was during this process that I just went by myself.
Wow.
Never did I think that I could meditate. Remember, we used to have really long meditations.
5, 6 hours, Patricia.
Yes, I couldn't believe I could do that. And I did. And
Mm.
so I
How?
don't know how many years it was into it, but I walked up to the entity, and the entity says, "You're now a guide." It's like, what? What? I mean, first you tell me I'm a daughter, now you're telling me I'm a guide. I walked out of there and I go, I don't want to be a guide because that's a lot of work
Yeah,
and you're responsible for all these people. And I was
exactly.
just going over and over in my head. And then I met Dr. Steve from Switzerland uh,
Mm.
when I left, and I guess I had the face of total overwhelm. And I was going on and on about being a guide, and he said, "It's okay. The
Mhm.
entities know what they're doing. You're
Yes.
here for a reason." And I said, "But I just like coming for myself. It's so sweet and lovely, and
Me
just
too.
enjoy the moments of meditation and elevation of spirit." So he assured me I would be okay. Of
Sure.
course, I had my doubts. So I went home and I prayed, and I had my handheld crystals, and I just prayed and prayed. And I said, "Am I supposed to go back to the casa? Am I supposed to do this?" I flipped on the television, and unbeknownst to me was the life story of Saint Rita.
No way.
Yes, way. I get chills even just saying it. I
Oh my
mean, it was
God.
like, okay, Patricia, do we need to shove you a little bit? And that was it.
Push you. Talk about really telling you to go back. So you came back time and time again because I remember you being at the Casa many times.
About 25 years.
It's amazing because you came in different capacities and with your groups as well. You were brilliant with them because you had experience, and it's not for the faint-hearted, as you know. And some of those physical interventions were pretty much, I was standing beside the blood, but there wasn't that much blood and guts. It was just tumors being thrown around the place. But it is hard to take the whole vibe that was there, and so many people, and you need a lot of patience. And some of your people were probably quite ill, and then they want to be seen first, of course, because they're quite sick, and then you have to walk them and talk them through the whole process. So this is like the work of God, really, because there's no training. You're just thrown in at the deep end and off you go. I mean, you handled it very well. Your people were always plugged in.
Well, it's interesting. I brought this one medical doctor who had a brain injury.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how when he would do an operation, he would ask medical people to be there.
Yes.
So she's there, but this was an operation that took place by his chair rather
Oh,
than outside. And she was holding uh, the tools.
instruments,
And she said to
knives,
me, she says, "Oh, I can't stand doing anything with the eyes." I said, "Breathe, just breathe." And after it was all over, she said to me, "If it was possible for me to work with the phalange," she said, "I experienced a sense of medical intelligence that I have never experienced in my entire life.
Wow. She's a
It
medical
was,
doctor.
she is a medical doctor, yes. And she
That's
says the level of service and the knowing. Now, wonderful, wonderful woman. What happened is she wound up with a brain injury because she was being a good Samaritan. Someone got injured on a highway. She went to help. A car threw her up in the air and she hit her head and stuff like that. But she went, and, and to this day, her brain is now fine.
wow. That's amazing.
And she, I mean, it is amazing because
Yeah.
she was able to go and have this incredible, incredible healing. But I could go on and tell stories about so many people who had major healings that were part of my tour group.
Mm.
And, it is hard because you want to be emotionally present for them. You
Yes.
and a lot of them go through a lot of things. And of course, they fight with you. And you say, listen, you've had an operation. You need to take the car back to the hotel. And, I had, especially some of the
Y-
men say to me, oh,
Yeah.
I can walk. And I would say, listen to me. I've
Yes.
had that done. And the San Rafael's not that far. Trust me, take the car.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And the one fellow sort of balked me, but he finally got into the car. He got out of the car and his knees gave out.
Yeah. You can't move. You have to be carried a lot of the time.
And so,
It's real.
I'm
It's a
going
real
to say this
thing.
to you. He was like, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds at least.
Mm.
I got him back into his room.
Oh my God.
It had to be the entities that helped me carry this guy back to his room, to the bed.
That's amazing.
Because there's no way I could have ever done it. So if you
No.
ask me, is there a vortex? Is there a power in Adabajanya? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's so interesting because there have been people who came with me because they wanted to elevate themselves spiritually,
Mm.
and they did.
Yeah.
That in itself is magnificent. And so I came back to Abba. It was when St. Rita was sitting in the chair, and it was
Yeah.
during Alexandria's wedding. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Was that in um 2019? No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you being in the cafe. I remember having a beautiful conversation with you, and you were very in tune with the energy, and we were talking about how surprisingly high the energy was without anyone, only Saint
Without
Rita
having a
in that
medium
chair.
there,
But yeah, exactly. And it was
with
just Saint
just
Rita.
having the statue of St. Rita.
It was
I mean,
enough.
of course, obviously, St. Rita has some connection to me.
For sure.
I went and went through the line and I sat there in the room after I passed through the statue, and
Mm.
tears and everything came down. It was just a really big healing. Of course, I'm going to tell you I needed a healing because my oldest son had passed away.
I'm sorry to hear. Yeah, I realized that. That's
And
huge.
I
It,
had had a heart
I don't,
attack,
it's
and
amazing.
my heart is fine.
It
And
healed.
I believe that.
But
Because
that
he passed
grief,
in 2017. I had the heart attack in 2017, and then I came back in 2019.
yeah, and you came back a different person than I had known you in 2019. Something massive had shifted within you. We did talk about the loss of your loved one, and we did talk about the energy shift in Abidjania, but there was something very different about you in 2019. You had this, I don't know how to explain it. And I remember distinctly because you were sitting just inside the door of the cafe where I came out to talk to you. You had this extra special or strong strength that you didn't have before. And I don't know why or how you received this. And it was possibly through the absolute and utter grief of the pain of I have no idea what it's like to bury a loved child. And I really felt that you had been given something really, really more than adequate to handle this cruel blow that had been walloped on you. But there was something shifted within you as a person. And I mean, okay, there was a lot of people in Abidjan before in 2017. We had met before, but I think that because of the energy shift that was going on the planet, you somehow seemed to be better equipped or stronger to be able to move through not the grieving process, just as a stronger, you were a powerhouse, let's say. And I felt that very strongly. And it was one of the first times we actually got to sit down and talk on a very soul level. Because before we talked, but it was always in passing or in groups or at the stoop but there was a very big shift that had happened within your life. And I don't know the work of God. It's a mystery to me. But somehow you survived and you have come through this and continue to carry yourself through this with great strength. And also, you seem to have a lot of people because what you have gone through is the unthinkable, I mean, my mother had to bury a son and it changed her. She really fell apart. And you were just so vital and so okay, you were in a lot of pain, there was a lot of grief, but you were so strong and so like a beacon of light. That's all I can say. And I remember it distinctly because we had time to really feel it in 2019. And that's the last time I saw you. And I feel like it was last week because now I'm chatting to you just like you're my sister, that we were just picking up where we left off last week, which is how I
Yeah.
love the Casa family.
And that's it. And I think that each step we take, there's opportunity for involvement. And one of the
Yeah.
things in my prayer was when my son passed, I did not want to carry that sorrow in my eyes. And I asked St. Rita to help me because, as you remember in her story, she also lost her sons.
I
So,
know.
right, you know,
Two
and
sons.
so she knew my heart. And so being there and understanding, it's as though, okay, when I believe when you're open
Mm.
and you're not resisting. And that's the biggest problem, is people would go to Adabajanya and their head made them resist the love, made them resist the healing. But when you walk in there and you're open to the spiritual vortex, I mean, your soul will go, let's soak it up, you know? And it's such a meaningful, we I don't know how to measure it, but I think we're all at certain levels. And the
Yeah,
more spiritual work we do, I think the level we get to go higher.
yeah, I
And
agree.
even though I haven't been to the Casa since 2019, I feel connected.
Absolutely.
Um, I feel connected to my sisters and brothers from the Casa,
Yeah,
and
for
they're
sure.
connected with me. The people who I took to the Casa in my groups are still validly connected to the Casa and things like that. I mean, I think the soul knows no boundaries.
Exactly. And I think it lives within us. I believe the Casa energy lives within us. There's a divine spark that has been ignited and it will never go out. And even after all this time and all the trauma that we went through, and now more than ever in 2025, we're having a chat like we just were talking last week. And also, we are connected as a family through the portal of the Casa and through the Christ consciousness or the God consciousness or the consciousness of the Casa entities has always stuck us together like a family. And I don't feel any disconnection from my Casa family. And even when I'm not in Abidjania, I still feel connected there. And then when I walk into the Casa, it's just like walking into another dimension for me. I mean, I can connect to it right here in Ireland. I can close my eyes and I can connect. And I that's something I never thought I'd be able to do, but I do believe that it's a soul level, that we really are connected for lifetimes. There's some reunion going on the planet right now. And you're in Lilydale, I'm in Ireland, I just came from Abidjania. Yet we're on the same path, the same mission, the same, like you're doing your spiritual work. I do a lot of spiritual work here in a different way, but it's all roads lead to God. I firmly believe that. But we would never be sitting chatting about our ignition or our light shining if it hadn't been for our meeting at the at the casa. And there's no coincidences and no accidents. We were brought there to meet and to be part of this consciousness that's growing on the planet and to help raise the vibration of the entire planet. And our lives are testament to that. But some of us go through some really dark night of the soul stuff like you. I can't imagine the pain. I saw my mother break when she lost my brother Andrish, and I couldn't explain what happened to her. But there, I don't think there is anything to describe the pain of losing a loved child. So I think that stands to you and testament to you. You're still strong. You're still there. You're teaching us. You're beaming out this love, and you're not angry. Um, my mother was angry for a while, but you're still going, and this is fantastic. This is why I'm really excited to talk to you about your spiritual work. You're continuing your path.
Well, I live in Lilydale and we have a healing temple here. And I'm one of the healers at the healing temple here. And I tell you, and I have said this to people who have gone to Brazil with me, can you feel the entities? You see, in our healing temple, we do hands-on healing, and the spirit comes through us. We don't do the healing. Spirit does the healing. All right.
Okay.
And so I have stood there and it's like, oh my gosh, this feels like the same energy of the casa. So why wouldn't the phalange follow me to the healing temple in Lilydale or any place else that I went?
Yeah.
And it just is a vibratory force that's so strong. And it's not about me doing a healing or anything, but I know that I work with healing energy. I know that even at the casa, so many stories I could tell you about um, that it's not just the physical healing. Like we have worked, we did a prayer healing service yesterday, and we had lost a member of our community, and her cat got lost. So there were
Woo!
prayers that we find the
Wow.
cat. And sure enough, the cat was found this morning. But
Wow.
Spirit works with us. And so I please ask all our brothers and sisters to continue their positive work. We're all one, we're all connected. And yes, I know things can look a bit horrific on what's
Yeah.
going on with the planetary changes as well as governmental stuff, but we have this consciousness And I believe that we transcend that, the political aspects of it, to be
Absolutely.
able to help and heal. Because the most important thing is that I believe when I do leave this earth plane is about my evolvement, not
Yeah.
about how many things there are. I very much like Pope Francis, who was devoted to St. Ignatius Loyola. And,
Yes.
uh, you know, it obviously the Casa is too. And it has that energy, how you can, transcend a lot of this heartache.
Yeah.
Yeah. And spirit will work with you if you will give away the resistance and say, okay, help me with the job, help me with work, help me with my family, help me with food. And, and I can't explain that,
No,
how, except that you put out the prayer and it's answered.
it's a surrendering too. You just hand everything over to them and let them do the work because and Medium Joao always come out and said in Portuguese, sometimes it wasn't translated, it is God who heals. I am an instrument in God's hands. And then he would
Exactly.
deliver himself to the entities, and the entities would take it from there. So it was never him doing any of the physical interventions. It was never him who did the spiritual work. He was a very simple man and still is. It was God who was doing the work. And that's what enabled this really powerful, the physical psychic surgeries were just there really to show people the power of God. I mean, I saw so many of them that I'm not blasé about it, but I think it was really for the people who were doubting. And the work went on regardless. I was invisibly operated on everywhere, all over the world, not even in Abidjan. Here in Ireland, I feel the entities. I feel them inside me and around me. And there's feathers everywhere. I don't know if you've noticed. I was out in the well today and my whole path, big feathers, small feathers. So I whipped out my Archangel Michael prayer and I said it at the well. And then more feathers started falling. I mean, I don't know if the birds are molting or what they're doing, but everywhere I go, there's feathers. So I know that the angelic realms are with me. They don't have to tell me. And then some people say something, and I'm like, sorry. And I realize that it's the entities working through other people. So there's a whole force field that are connected through the casa and they're all working with us anywhere in the world. They don't know any borders or boundaries or time or space. And you said a beautiful thing there that the spiritual work that you're doing and you're encouraging people to do it all over the world, no matter what it is, how big or small, lighting a candle, don't damn the darkness, help somebody across the street, be kind. That's all spiritual work. But you just said it there that you are handing it over to a higher dimension. It's not you, it's you are the vessel, the channel, but you are encouraging people to just let it go, hand it over. And I don't know how it works either, Patricia. It's a mystery to me, the works of God. And yet, here we are, still standing after all those years and multiplying the light on earth, even though you have been hurt by the taking of a loved one so close to you. You were never, well, I'm sure there's certain stages of grief, but you're still standing, you're still there, you're a warrior. And this is what I love about the Casa family and talking to you about this because you are standing strong, speaking about let's go, let's keep the work going. It'll never
Well,
stop.
don't you
So,
think that all of us that were in current and there is like the phalange was training us to be
yes,
able to continue this earthly work,
yes.
and that, you know, it's as though that as long as we did allowed the phalange and spirit to touch us, we have an opportunity as our brothers and sisters of the Casa to work together, to evolve together, to just help our fellow humankind and four-leggeds and furry friends and things like that, wherever we are. And it is by the grace of God that the spirit is so bright.
Exactly. And we learned this at the Casa. It was like a school, the University of Life. And we came away every time with something more. And it was almost like we graduated. When the Casa crashed in 2018, everybody was like, and then suddenly something beautiful emerged. It was a very feminine energy. It was very beautiful. And now it has leveled off into I don't know, it's a dimensional shift. There is something massive happening in the heart of Brazil. And it's never been this powerful. The current has never been this high. The energy has never been, we haven't had 2025 before. It's so powerful now, the Casa. And just before we came on air, you were right. There does need to be a bit of a cleanup of an encouragement to go back there for many people. Some people will never go back because they feel their work is finished. But there needs to be an encouragement for those who want to go back to really um, experience that energy. And yet, the town itself, our part of the town, our side of the town, seems to have been abandoned because suddenly the medium isn't there, and they don't pay attention a lot to the work of the Casa. And it's not because it's an evangelic town or it's nothing to do with religion, really. It's just a lack of faith. And I know that anything is possible. And there's been a lot of abandoned animals, and the poor girls can't keep up, with Vonnie and Vivian and Meta. I mean, and also the hungry. I mean, I've been trying to feed everything has gone up in price. We were feeding a lot of people during COVID. Now we're feeding less, doing food baskets. We just do what we can, but it is stacked against us because there isn't the crowds of people that were there, because a lot of people were drawn there because of the medium. But there does need to be a cleanup or an attraction for people to go there and feel the energy. I mean, it's all very well one or two people going and saying, "Oh, it's great," but I do believe that the Casa itself, I don't ever see it closing, but I do feel it has a future from the point of view of people will go back, not necessarily a medium in the chair, but because the energy is there and because the healings are still happening and because of all of between the waterfall, the toucans, the monkeys, the flowers, the water of the casa alone, the interventions in the casa herbs, which I have here, all of it is still very, very much highly vibrational. So there is a need to attract um, people to go there and perhaps even allow people to do their spiritual work there because that would only enhance the energy field, in my humble opinion. I think that was a lot of people were very distraught when they couldn't practice for, I don't know, was it 40 days or something? Or within Abidjan, it was frowned upon to even think of doing any spiritual work. I think it all goes hand in hand. Personally, I think there was a certain amount of control there, but there is something in the future that the casa is necessary for the survival of the planet also. There is an energy coming out of the casa that is phenomenal, and it's felt all over the world. I feel it here in Ireland, and I know that it's essential to the evolvement of our spiritual work on the planet. And because there's so much chaos now, I mean, I don't even watch the news. I couldn't.
Well,
Um,
I think more people will be willing to go back once things get settled more and they
yeah,
feel as though that travel is easier. I mean, right now it's become a little bit too convoluted in the United States.
I
Yeah.
know.
And so once those doors reopen, in the meantime, just know how we are loved, we are connected, we are a community, we are brothers and sisters. And it's just as though that as we send this podcast, we send our love to one another and support one another to the best of our ability. And yes, we may be feeding people here in the United States and children with their lunches and things like that because it is changing times. So maybe we are not at the Casa because the Falange has decided, excuse me, we need you to be right where you are because people need you there and you bring us with you. So here you go. Just grab
Do what
yourself.
you're doing right there.
Exactly. Whether it's you hang on to your yin yang crystals and you just move with it.
Yeah, and I'm the same here in Ireland. I'm drawn all the time to the holy wells and to the words of Saint Ignatius. I found in the chapel the prayer of Michael the Archangel. I've been carrying it around with me. Everywhere I look, there are signs pointing me in the right direction to help other people. And my work is universal as well. I mean, I certainly, Abidjani is my spiritual home, and I do go back there regularly. But there is work for me to do in Ireland, and we're all connected on that level wherever we are in the world. I mean, I'm having mad dreams here that are giving me instructions on what to do, the ancestral work, which I hadn't a clue. I just kept asking in the chapel here when I got here a couple of weeks ago. I just said, show me what to do. And they're downloading this stuff in my dreams about what to do with the water, how to cut the ancestral ties. I'm like, I mean, I must have known this stuff in my deep psyche, but they're bringing it to the forefront. So I have a notebook beside my bed now. And when I wake up in the morning, I write down all this stuff and I'm looking at it going, well, that's kind of simple. It's not big highfalutin stuff that you have to do and go out and crucify yourself on a cross and stuff. It's very much part of being part of the community and being loving and compassionate and caring and really reaching out to our brothers and sisters because we're all the same. And the Casa, they came from 55 different countries minimum. And here in Ireland, there must be at least 55 different countries in my hometown. And for me, that's beautiful. I say hello to everybody on the street. Some people don't speak English. For me, it's an opportunity. And for other people, it may be a bit of a fear because they're not accustomed to other cultures and, for whatever reason they feel under threat. But for me, my job is to make people feel comfortable. And that includes my fellow Irish people to help them realize, look, we immigrated all over the world. Oh, there's Irish pubs in every small town in the world. And now is our time to open our hearts to people who have come here under duress and to welcome them and to bring Ireland into the 21st century, all sorts, all flavors, licorice, all sorts. It's time now to really embrace each other and work together. We can't, it's pointless working opposite. We're the same. Like religion doesn't even come into it, color doesn't come into it. That's the beauty of the Casa. It's like living the Casa here in Ireland or wherever I go in the world. It was always said out in the main hall, the Casa is open to everybody. For those who don't believe, for those who believe, all creeds, all belief systems. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know the Christian Our Father and Hail Mary were there. It's beautiful in Aramaic. It's lovely in translated directly from the Aramaic. It makes more sense than the very strict Catholic upbringing that I was used to. But it's all the same path, it's the road to God. It's a consciousness. And I really do believe we're doing the work wherever we are in the world. And you in Lilydale, as you were saying, you're out there doing the work every day, and that's all we need to do. And for even us chit-chatting about it, somebody who's listening to us will understand and also will go out today and do something that they may not have done, like bake your neighbor a cake or a few scones or something, or say hello to somebody, and talk about the weather or whatever. I'm doing it all the time. I'm even speaking Portuguese in my local supermarket because there's so many Brazilians living in my town, and they look at me going, "Are you Irish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I lived in Brazil for a long time." So it's a beautiful exchange. And it's like it brings us all together. Because then the locals who don't know me see me speaking a language that they don't understand to people they don't understand. And I'm a local that they know. This is the town I was born in. So they're like, oh my God, just Grania yapping away in Portuguese. And it brings us together. It really does make people say, well, they can't be that, crazy if they're talking to Grania or whatever. I don't see this whole um, separation because we
Well, the
had,
way I see it, Grania, is that we all bleed red. If you
yes,
cut any one of us, we're all going to bleed red. And God knows his children. He didn't necessarily label them. There's no shame. There is no judgment. There's always love and mercy. And those of us who have been to the Casa understand there's miracles. And the thing that I believe is that each one of us is a miracle, that our light is to be able to assist others in finding theirs. And as we did in the current that allowed the phalange to come to people to embrace their miracles, which I have seen countless times, it is an amazing, amazing gift that I feel as a daughter of the Casa that I was given. And yes, it is not outside of me, it's a part of me for the rest of my lives
yeah,
to evolve. But it's always brilliant to speak to you and to send whatever brothers and sisters that watch this podcast lots of love, lots of support. We know
exactly.
you're on the path and we're with you.
That's what we need to do, and short and sweet as well. I'm just thrilled that we had a chance to have this opportunity to talk, and we're with you all the way, and we will be true lifetimes together, and that's for sure. And that's what brought us together. So thank you, Patricia, my namesake, because I'm Ganya Patricia. And I feel very much connected to you. And thank you for taking the time to remind us that we all bleed red. I mean, there's nothing more to say, is there? Only love, love, love.
Exactly. And thank you for your love, Grania. Big love,
I
big
love you.
hugs.
Thank you. We'll
Bye.
talk soon, darling.
Lovely.
Okay. Ciao, ciao. Love you.